WPCentral Podcast 141 for April 25th, 2012. Hey everybody, Daniel Rubino joined again once again by Rafael Rivera and Jay Bennett, and I'm still waking up after 4 hours sleep. How you guys all doing today? Jay, we'll go with you first.
How's very good. Apart from doing this podcast now 2 nights in a row, which is just too much for one guy.
Oh, poor guy.
Can you
Welcome to my world.
So if anyone wasn't around, there was a Mobile Nations podcast I was on yesterday. Go check it out. It was a good podcast.
Yeah, I guess I got to post that up.
And yes,
later.
Renee, I get that you do about 3 or 4 a night. 3 or 4, even basically 4 hours. How's yourself, Daniel?
Hanging in there, sleep deprived as usual. And now we're joined again by Rafael Rivera, who managed to make it this week. No Windows meetings or classes, whatever that was.
No, so it's... I was actually in a crash dump analysis course. It was actually pretty
We're
good.
a family show, dude. Hold on. Oh, okay.
So that was good. And then on the side, of course, I was grabbing the Lumia 900 white.
Yes. Let's just skip to that story right now, actually. He just made the awesome segue. The white Lumia 900, a.k.a. the Stormtrooper, as some of us are calling it, finally made its appearance. Technically on Sunday. Some of us were able to get it Friday or Saturday, which was kind of cool. Rafael, some of us have had these phones for a while, or at least a second generation or generation 1.5, whatever you want to call it. But you went from a Focus to this phone. You're one of these guys who's actually not that lusty of hardware. What's your first impressions of this Lumia 900 and the white one specifically?
So I will say the hardware is vastly superior. I kind of understand where people are coming from now, having owned one. In terms of the speed and responsiveness, pretty awesome. I haven't run it through its paces yet because I just got my SIM activated today, and I was going back and forth about the purple screen when the brightness is on low. But I think in speaking with you just a few moments ago, this is not really an issue.
So I think it's an issue, but yeah, it's not not unique to your device, we'd say.
Right.
Does it just look that way because the rest of it is so brilliantly white?
No, absolutely not. No, so for everybody that's wondering, what happens on the Lumia 900s is when brightness goes down to low for the screen, and this happens when it's on auto. You can kind of get around this if you just put it on manual, medium, or high. The blacks tend to, at least, or I would say the grays actually, tend to go purplish, and they get a purple tint to them. And so you definitely notice it with it contrasting against the backgrounds, but it's sort of annoying because then when you put it back up to medium or high, it goes back to this gray color, which it should be. And it's something that seems to be a side effect of the AMOLED screen. And it seems like it could be fixed with a firmware update. It's a tweaking of the color brightness and hotness, what they call. The Focus S had this change too in a firmware. Okay. They can actually adjust how the screen brightness works and everything. So it's a little bit of annoying. It doesn't look so hot. It's not terrible looking. It's just sort of you notice it, and it's like those little blips in movies when they do the real change. You may not, you might not know they exist, but as soon as someone points it out to you, you'll forever see them. And so it's the same thing here with this device. But yeah,
So Rafael, am I right in saying that you got the last one of the white Lumia 900 in your store?
No, actually, they had a few. One of them, for some reason, wasn't registering in their computer, so they shuffled it back to the storage room. But then they pulled out this one and gave it to me. I did ask the AT&T guy on the counter, are these things selling well? And they said absolutely. They think one of the reasons why they're selling well is because they were actually trained on these things. And they like them. They like them a lot. They're carrying them in the store. They're educating the public on how awesome they are. They're selling well. Surprise. But
and of course they've sold out. I mean, how many places they've been temporarily out of stock on the AT&T online store, both the cyan and the white models in the last 2 weeks.
Sure. And this is but it's sort of like we can't gain too much knowledge from that because it seems like stock is low in general. So we don't know how many they're selling versus how many they actually have available. It's nice that they're out of stock, but for all we knew, they're only getting 2 or 3 white ones per store. So at least they're selling at the same time. It's not like, they're getting 20 a store and people are buying them up right away. But having spoken with some people at AT&T, they still say that, no, the phone is actually selling well in general. And that what happens is like the Cyan, people won't have it. But they'll come in, they'll order it. And they're getting it in about 2 days' time is the changeover. So they're getting direct from the factory, basically. They're just spitting them off the line and sending them right away. So if you do want one, it is a short wait. But it's still a wait nonetheless. So this seems to be a supply issue, but combined with it selling well. But unfortunately, we can't gain too much knowledge about how well it's actually selling in comparison to other devices like Android phones. But.
Oh, cool. So how do we think Rolling Thunder is doing then as a marketing campaign?
Well, I think it's kind of hard to gauge in the sense that, people keep thinking Rolling Thunder is going to be like a D-Day where it's very slow and subtle. I am seeing a lot of ads on TV, and I tell people, I don't even have cable, so I only watch it while I'm wiring up my patients. But I still see the ads there on occasion. And, you're seeing in general more awareness of this. On Xbox the other night, I was watching Hulu Plus, and one of the ads came on, and it was the AT&T Lumia 900 commercial. So you're definitely seeing it a lot more, and they are promoting the phone. I walked into the AT&T store, you'll see the signs everywhere. The reps were wearing T-shirts, which were pretty cool, actually. And so, they're definitely pushing the phone, and the reps seem knowledgeable on the device. And I think it's going better than... this is good as it's going to get, right? I think for Windows Phone users. So we're going to see it build more. They're not going to just blow a ton of money now. They're going to wait till slowly the phone builds out there, people become aware of it, people talk more about it, and then they're going to ride that to build more momentum. And you keep doing that till it hopefully, builds a bigger wave. But they can't create all that buzz themselves just by running commercials 24/7. So
no, and people get fed up with it, to be honest. So
yeah.
It's quite a thing. So let's talk a little bit about accessories, because Rafael, I know you've got some words to mention about the bumper that you have with your phone.
Oh, yeah. So I was just showing the guys in the chat. I have a green rubbery looking bumper that AT&T selling. I think it comes direct from Nokia. I have no idea. But let me tell you, the Lumia hardware construction is amazing, but then the bumper is disgusting. It's like squishy and moves around while it's in your hand. And I was looking for a bumper to cover at least the front bezel of the phone, and there's like white peeking through, and it just I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it fits properly. It moves around. The buttons are weird. It's like, this is garbage.
Maybe it's supposed to feel like it's alive.
Yeah,
right.
It could be. I mean, and you know what's even funnier at the top, and I'll show the people watching. It has a hole for USB, but it only really accommodates the USB cord that came with the phone. So if you try if you try another cable, which everyone will do because they lost the original, it doesn't fit. You have to peel it off and try something else. So. Yeah, so this one's going back.
Is this the same one that was? Is it the same basic bumper that was sent out with all the Lumia 800s? Do we know, Dan?
No. So there's two cases basically that Nokia have released for this. I'll do both of them this week because I own both. One is a bumper. So that the bumper what Rafael has just goes around the edges of the device, but leaves the back and the front completely exposed. And that's partly why it feels kind of flimsy, because it doesn't actually have much support. Now, that's actually, as far as I know, not available on the 800. The 800, though, comes with a full slip-on case. That, too, is available for the 900, and it's a little bit better. It's also a little bit different in the sense that on the 800, it leaves the chrome buttons exposed on the side. On the 900, they're actually covered, too. And then they have, like, a little piece of rubber in them that helps, like, stem the buttons. It's not a bad thing, but... I will say with the 800, it's a little more seamless on the 800. With the 900, you kind of feel it's a little bit there. That's just because of the design of the 900. I think it's a little bit different. It's not a bad case, and you could certainly change the colors with it. And I would suggest to Rafael that the full-on case is a little bit better. On the other hand, I don't think it's available in the green color, which is what he specifically wants. He actually would
spray paint. I'll just spray paint it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you should sand it down, get rid of that nasty gloss, put some primer on there. Yeah, I mean, Raphael just wants basically a fluorescent green matrix phone,
Yeah, I
which I
just
kind of
want
actually
this
don't
nice.
blame.
It's more of an Xbox screen, so it matches my
Okay.
wall and one of my over carpets. But,
I really
Fair
want to
enough.
believe that you painted that wall to match your Xbox.
Oh no, I didn't do that. No.
I bought the
So-
house with the room to match the Xbox. Come on, let's be realistic here.
So we were talking about the Lumia 900. Obviously, it's been selling really well. And one of the things that's not on the script just yet, but because it only happened today, was the news that the 900 has been delayed over here in the UK because of overwhelming demand in the US.
Yeah, and
Which
the story's a little right. It's a little funky because they technically never announced a date, so people
Yeah.
get mad when we say this, like, well, they never announced a date, so it's still, yeah, but okay. I mean,
they didn't announce it; it was just heavily suggested.
you're right, exactly.
That it was
There were
originally
just a
this.
lot of sites and retailers saying it's coming in April. Yeah, so that seems to be the case. Once again, this is a supply issue with Nokia. Now, the supply thing is just because of the polycarbonate body, right? It's difficult to manufacture. We're going to be writing a little story later about the white polycarbonate case and how difficult it took Nokia 2 years to come up with that white color, basically, because white is
Wow.
very difficult to get without making it look
Yeah.
yellow at all.
As
And keep it-
Apple will tell you.
yeah, yeah, and to keep it completely pure during that process, because you're pouring in this plastic, right? And if you get any discoloration or any variation in that mixture, it's going to show up as imperfections on the case. And if you look at the 900, it's actually completely white, and there's no distortion whatsoever through it. So it's pretty impressive stuff. But you spend a lot of time with it. But because of this, it does take a while for them to make. And now they're coming out with different colors, and so it's slowing them down a little bit. But I'm sure they'll ramp up eventually. But yeah, so you guys will be getting it. Looks like May 14th. So that's not too bad. Jay, you gonna be getting one, trading up your 800?
I'm really torn because a little part of me does want to do it, but partly just so I can get a decent battery life out of my Lumia. So technically, I don't need it, but I don't think that's going to stop me from wanting it.
Does your
Still-
carrier have the dual network for the HSPA?
HSPA.
Well,
So
dual
that's all.
HSPA.
That's all we have. It's
Yeah.
It's HSPA Plus. I think does exist over here. It's not
you don't
really
have dual?
advertised. No.
You don't have the
If I
dual
can
channel?
if I can get 3G plus or 3.5G, whatever you want to call it, or H as it shows up on my phone, I'm pretty happy with my speeds, to be honest.
Yeah. But you guys
So,
don't have the
yeah.
dual channel HSPA?
No idea, honestly. I don't look into the technologies of the networks.
Okay, because that's an important distinction for people who are in the UK and the rest of Europe. If your network supports dual channel HSPA plus, you don't get LTE, of course, but it'll be significantly faster both on your uploads and downloads using the Lumia 900 over the Lumia 800, because it does have a variation in the radio that allows almost double the bit rate of the downloads. So that's something to consider, at least. It will be faster if your network supports it. So.
I'll have a look. I'm with Vodafone, so I'll have a look into whether or not that's possible. Maybe someone on the chat room will be able to tell me if Vodafone have got the dual for a while. I know that 3 are getting it relatively soon, thanks to A Golding 8 for putting that in the chat room. But I don't know with Vodafone. I think it's probably just single at the moment. I don't know. Perhaps it might support. I'll look later. So yeah, that's most of what we can talk about for the Lumia 900. I thought that after the last few podcasts, we'd keep it relatively light on the Lumia. So what we have got to talk about, which is going to be a little bit of a downer perhaps, is the financial outlook of the Lumia manufacturer, Nokia. So for those of you who didn't see, there's the credit rating agency Fitch has downgraded Nokia's credit rating to, is it the level above junk, or is it actually junk now?
No, I think it's actually junk.
It's
Yeah.
junk, right?
Which just
Which
sounds
means
terrible.
which means that Nokia stock is really cheap right now. So if you like the stock market and you're thinking like I am, maybe it might be worth investing because they're going to bounce back. Maybe that's what I'm looking at. What I was curious is what do we think this means for the company? Do we think it'll actually affect them?
They're obviously need a break. They have money in reserves. They're still making some money. But yeah, they definitely need to find, this change. This was going to kind of happen between dumping Symbian and going to Windows Phone. going from a huge established market to a small unestablished one. They're trying to establish the market. They'll bounce back, I'm pretty sure of it. Like I said, Microsoft will keep them on live support. Even if they ran out of money, Microsoft would be like, here's a couple $1 million, $500 million to keep it going. So they really shouldn't be any worry about that. I still think now the big break for Windows Phone will really be Windows Phone 8. The Lumia 900 will be a nice Kickstarter for that, but we still have some time to go. Now, the good news is here in the United States, Verizon, AT&T are both talking up Windows Phone a lot now as being a third ecosystem, and something I'm very interested in supporting. Verizon's going to support it with Windows Phone 8. All that's going to help Nokia big time. I think when we get Windows Phone 8 devices, we're really going to see some hardware competition, mostly because Windows Phone 8 will allow greater variation in chipsets and customization. Right now, the camera thing is kind of limited. Like, they can only use the camera that comes with the Qualcomm chipset, and so the APIs stuff needed to modify that are really limited, and so Nokia doesn't even have access to that stuff, so they can't do a lot of their usual magic. Most of their stuff now is focused on the software end. Of course, HTC got around this by just using a better sensor and a more expensive one at that, and also a larger one. I mean, if you put the Titan 2 sensor in a 900, you would have a bulge in the back and it would stick out. It would actually take away from the elegance of the device. So there's trade-offs with all this stuff. But we'll definitely see, I think, more hardware and really creativity from Nokia with the Windows Phone 8 stuff. But the 900 will be a nice kickstart. So.
Yeah, I think that actually there is a very strong likelihood that if the Nokia pipeline right now is looking at Windows Phone 8 device with that PureView camera sensor and the NFC tech that they've done, if they actually do bring everything that they've got in concept form right now into one device with the sort of styling design that we've seen, I think I would go as far as to say one device might be enough to bring their smartphone business back into the profitable area. And we should point out that their smartphone business still does really well. Even though they dropped MeeGo, Symbian is still selling really well on the lower end. So it'll be interesting to see how bringing in the Nokia Lumia 610 will affect it. I'm not a financial analyst, so I can't tell you one way or another. But I thought it was interesting all the same. Daniel, you brought up an interesting point there. I'm going to bring it out of our the rest section about Verizon warming up to Windows Phone. That was another story from this week that we popped out. Do you want to talk us through this one?
Just real briefly. I mean, so Verizon it was obviously had a cold relationship with Microsoft ever since the Ken situation. There's been a lot of speculation that's because of what happened with Ken. Verizon's been kind of angry at Microsoft. Who knows? Ultimately, though, this is business.
It's a love-hate relationship. Let's put it that way.
And I also think, what's happening is what I've been saying has been happening. It's going to be happening for a while now, which is RIM is done. I hate sorry, Kevin from BlackBerry, but RIM and BlackBerry.
Kevin doesn't like us anymore.
Yeah. RIM and BlackBerry are definitely on their way out. They're on live support. I'm pretty positive RIM will be sold off and hacked up into parts by the end of the year, with their portfolio sold off.
No, you've got a couple years yet. BlackBerry 10 is still going to come out. BBX is still going to be there.
I'll be honest. I don't think they're going to last a BlackBerry 10. I don't think they will. I think Microsoft, they're going to come in and they'll sell off.
Strong words.
And I think Microsoft will buy them out. But
I disagree with you, but interesting.
No, well, they've already apparently hired some people to look at selling off assets of the company. So it's definitely on the table for them. Having said that, now, so the problem is with Verizon, they were saying, we have three ecosystems. It's Apple, Android, and RIM. And now, obviously, the bottom's fallen out from RIM, and so they don't have much faith in BlackBerry 10. And so now Windows Phone has stepped up to the third ecosystem. And I think most people have recognized now that Windows Phone is a third ecosystem. It's a tiny ecosystem. It's actually large and has so much potential. And so Verizon actually flat out said, we basically made Android in the United States. And I agree with them. With the whole Droid marketing campaign, they really did. Because Android served as the anti-iPhone for the longest time. And they really promoted that, and they built that up. And they basically said, we're going to do the same with Windows Phone. We're going to make that the third ecosystem and a viable alternative. And so I think with them and AT&T, they can do it. If it was T-Mobile and Sprint, I'd be worried. I like Sprint, I like T-Mobile, but they don't have the capacity to make phones. And we saw that. I think that was Palm's biggest mistake, was they went with the pre on Sprint. And at first it sounded cool. It sounded like a good deal. Everybody would go to Sprint. Everybody would get a Palm Pre. It would be both, best for both companies. In the end, though, they didn't have the capital, the market share to leverage to make that a hit. So AT&T and Verizon, we can hate them, but they have the market share and capital to actually make this happen. And so I think that's a good thing.
Interesting points. Rafael, anything to add?
No. Well, actually, I will say Sprint needs to wake up.
Yeah.
I mean, Jenny, my girlfriend, she's on Sprint, and she's kind of locked into Sprint right now with her family on a family plan. And she really wants to use Windows Phone, but she's not going to use that first-gen garbage. And she's getting to the point where she's going to have to go iPhone if she wants a decent phone. She doesn't want the Android stuff either. So I'm trying to talk her out of it, but I can't because of her financial situation and the great. I mean, she's paying like $60 for unlimited. That's crazy. She can't switch to AT&T. It's $60 for the bare minimum. So
I'm paying $30. I still have a $30 plan on Sprint.
Wow.
I don't even use it. I haven't turned on my Sprint phone in probably about 6 months. But I'm still keeping that $30 plan just because it's $30 a month. I know what you're saying. Same situation here with my GF. She's on Sprint. Now she's seriously considering AT&T because she really likes the white Lumia 900. So that is Sprint's predicament. Now, we talked about this before, which is that Sprint sold their soul to Apple. They had to because they were just not going anywhere with anything. So they had to get Apple's iPhone, but in turn, they spent like $20 billion for the next 5 years. They have to sell like thousands of iPhones every month just to break even. So that's where they are. I still think we'll see Windows Phone 8 devices from them. But I'm kind of riding off Sprint. I hate to do that and say that, but between AT&T's LTE network and Verizon's LTE network. Now Sprint has LTE too, but they're still going to be lagging behind those two networks.
Yeah, I heard they're not going to be ready till like 2014, 15.
Right. Yeah, they'll have a lot of markets at that point, but that's what you're looking at. Now, Rafael, do you have LTE where you are?
I'm embarrassed to say I have no idea.
Well, you say it says LTE on the phone.
Yeah, well, it just says 4G right now.
Okay,
but
so no.
What does 4G really mean, right? So,
well, that when it just says 4G, that's your HSPA plus. That's all that is.
Okay.
When it goes to LTE, it'll actually say LTE in that section.
Okay, so I guess that's a no.
Right. I only have it when I'm in New York City in the greater metro area there. When I'm out more east on Long Island, it's not there. But when you experience LTE, it's night and day. I've been kind of like HSPA plus, we always joke around. It's kind of it's nice to have, but obviously it's not a huge difference. LTE is it's ridiculous. I mean, between 20 and 30 megabits per second, it's like, it's like 10 times your speed. It's so fast that the phone itself can't possibly make use of all that data.
It's like that Maxell ad with the guy sitting and his face is being blown away. Is that how it's going to be?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's just it. Once we get Windows Phone 8 devices with dual core and all this other hardware, then you'll even see it be even more useful. I mean, it's useful now. Don't get me wrong. I really love it. Pulling down big maps, and you can just put it on the live satellite view and just keep scrolling, and it's just instant. It'll just keep showing up. There's no redraw. So this LTE thing it's really serious. And so I'm excited about seeing a Verizon LTE phone and more. It's I actually feel like I'm in the future a little bit. It's kind of cool.
So here's a way we can possibly put that bandwidth to use, and that would be Skype. And I know that, Rafael, you're going to have a lot to say on this situation, so I'm going to come to you in a moment.
All right.
Actually, I'm quite looking forward to that already. First, let's just recap on the whole the Skype story. So Skype went to version 1 on Sunday. It came out of the beta. I don't remember quite what the changes were. We had adding contacts was one of the ones that I noticed, some general bug fixes. Pulling up the app, I didn't see an awful lot that had changed. But, it finally came out of this hidden beta version and became instead this fully open, anyone can download it version of Skype. And we'll set aside the first controversy for Rafael to talk about, which was the fact that it doesn't have background notifications. It can't alert you that a call's incoming unless you've got the app open. We'll set that aside for now. But we also had a nice little one this week regarding some there was reports from Nokia, from Skype rather themselves, saying that the app wouldn't work on the new Tango 256 megabytes devices. That came out of the description that said it required 512 to run. Now, this was a little bit suspect in the first place, as people who listen to the podcast frequently will remember that Mr. Justin Angel actually called into our podcast as a guest with his Lumia 610 with a 256 meg device from Skype. And I think we can all agree the sound quality was fantastic that we heard from that phone. So it sounded just like it was working fine. And it's been back and forth. Daniel, what's the latest on this story? Will Skype work on the 256 megabyte devices?
All right, here's the deal. I finally got some information from some people at Nokia, a little bit of people at Skype who are a little bit less helpful. The situation says Skype has certified the software for certain devices, namely the ones with 512 megs of RAM. That is, if you go and you look at it, it says it will work on the 900, the 800, and basically the second generation phones, the Titan, Titan 2, Focus S, and stuff like that. It's certified for those. That means they've tested it on there and it works well and they're happy with it. It doesn't mean it can't run on 256 megabyte phones. It just means Skype says it works better on 512, and that's what they're officially saying. So you can go load it on a Tango phone and it will work as of right now. Now, it doesn't mean that they may do a future update and it'll break it, but they're not. It doesn't seem like they're forcing the limitation that you can't download it from the marketplace on your Tango phone. Nokia have tested this on their 610 and said it works fine, and you should be able to load it up when the 610 becomes available in a couple weeks. So that's kind of the situation with it. Skype has basically said they're going to continue to update this app, and they're looking to roll out new features, and so they're looking to optimize things so they may be able to, this is very common. We release a 1.0 of a new software. You kind of get it out there. It has some features. And then you spend, and you know this, Jay, you do two things for the next few releases. You optimize the code, smooth it out, and then you slowly add new features to it. We can expect, I think, the same here from Skype. So,
yeah, absolutely. So speaking of new features and things that are missing, let's go to background notifications. Rafael, I kind of feel like I'm letting you off a chain now. Go.
No, I won't go too crazy because I'm actually still working with Microsoft and getting for those listening on Twitter, I kind of went off on all the people that were giving Skype crap because they were lacking. They're lacking two basic features: running in the background and notifications of incoming calls. Precisely. So yeah. When you download the app, install it, it's like, what the hell? We've been waiting so long for Skype. You guys take it out of beta, and we still don't have these features. Now, I hate Skype a lot like other people, especially the desktop software. But I have to give them some credit here, or I have to help defend them. Skype is not your traditional client-to-server app. So when you log into Skype, now, while you are logging into their service and getting a little token back, it's peer-to-peer the rest of the way. So your contacts, for example, are peers that your phone has discovered. It's based on Kaza's file sharing technology. It's completely peer-to-peer. So it doesn't work in the same sense of, say, Tango, which is based on a more traditional client-server architecture. It uses XMPP for those that are technical out there. But for scalability purposes, Skype decided to go peer-to-peer. So now, with this, you have certain limitations. So, for example, if I log into Skype and then Skype lets me talk to everyone around me in P2P land, where do you... If one peer can call the other directly, where do you put a notification server, right? Because Skype doesn't know you're making a call to, Jay, for example. Now, if I send them a text message, that's a totally different story because that has to go to Skype. They store it for whatever regulatory purposes, and then it comes back down to Jay. But a phone call, believe it or not, does not go through Skype. It goes from your PC to his PC or phone or whatever. So there's no real place to put a notification server. That's problem number one. Now, problem number two. Some people are probably thinking, okay, fine. If you can't put a notification server in there, just keep the app running. And when you receive a phone call, pop up a toast or whatever. Well, the problem with that is Windows Phone doesn't let you keep open network connections on the background. So they can't take their app, put it in the background, open a port, and just listen for incoming calls all day. So I think that's where some of the confusion came with. I think Microsoft came out with a quote, or Skype came out with a quote saying it was kind of Microsoft's fault, kind of Skype's fault, and that's exactly accurate. The phone can't put the app in the background and keep a port open, and Skype can't really build a notification server. So, will we see that fixed anytime soon? Probably not. I think we're going to have to wait probably till the next Windows Phone update. I believe we reported months ago that Skype was quote-unquote getting better with Apollo. There weren't exactly any details around that, but I think we're starting to understand them now with the app's limitations.
Yeah, this is a filler app almost. It's just to put the functionality there for when you need it.
Right. So I think the comparison between Tango and Skype is pretty unfair. Tango doesn't do the same thing. I mean, in the user's hand it does, but technically it doesn't. And Tango definitely doesn't have the user base that Skype does. So there you go. That is why Skype is lacking some features.
See, it's always nice to have an actual explanation. This is why sometimes I try to explain this in the comments too, that it's easy for us to, throw mud at these guys and anyone basically who makes apps. But I'm not a software engineer, and I know jack about, I had to drop Intro to Programming because I just could not get into it. So for me to sit here and be like, they should just do it. Tango can do it. Why can't they? It really speaks of ignorance. Because when I was doing my PhD years ago, I used to hate this in science, where non-science people would give you advice or criticize work you're doing, and being like, well, this is not, like everybody now, like the environmental science thing is a pretty big field with global warming and global climate change. Everybody's an expert now. But when you actually do the science or read the science, it's extremely complicated, and you have to have a background in it. So to sit there and make these arguments, you need some understanding, which is kind of why I wanted Rafael in the first place for our site to offer that perspective. It's certainly really interesting stuff. It's not good news we want to hear, but it's the news we kind of need to hear. Now, I guess the question... and
it sounds like a quote from Batman, by the way.
I know, thank you. Renee kind of brought this up in the room, and I don't know if Rafael will give a perspective on this, but why on iOS does it sort of work with notifications? Do you know anything about iOS, maybe how that works there?
I don't know how iOS works. I'm assuming the app either runs in the background with a port open, or maybe it has some sort of hook into the OS. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'll bring it up with Microsoft. And by the way, everything I said, I still have to verify with Microsoft, but it just all kind of makes sense. And I'll roll out a blog post explaining this in detail with pretty pictures, with any corrections that Microsoft gives me, if any.
Right.
But yeah,
it'll be good to get down the record and sort of, set the record straight. And Renee Ritchie from iMore just confirmed that, it seems to be running in the background with an open port on iOS, which he also mentions, of course, results in a large battery drain. Not a surprise.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
So this is definitely a... Rafael, speculation here. Could Skype change their architecture to make it more friendly for mobile? Because I think that's the problem here, right? Skype wasn't built around mobile. Skype was built around the idea of a dedicated desktop situation. Tango had the benefit of coming at a time when mobile was huge. So they actually went mobile first and then kind of scaled back and put a desktop app out as well. So Skype's in a weird situation where they started off as desktop. Now they're going everywhere, especially with Microsoft. They want to go Xbox. They want to go mobile, tablets eventually. And Microsoft has to be careful. There's 600 million registered users of Skype. They can't just be like infrastructure change and then hope it doesn't have any issues. So what's your feeling on Skype here? What's their future? Could they do anything? Do you know if they're planning on stuff or?
So I don't know what they're doing in the future. I'll bring this up in any meetings I have with them. But I did look at, if you look at the architecture kind of from a higher view, it, short-term fix, they'll have to have the app running in the background. Long-term fix, however, they're going to have to start thinking mobile and maybe make some changes to the way they're making calls. It's hard because you can't have all these users all of a sudden dialing into a server. Like the peer-to-peer thing has led to the success of Skype and the growth of Skype. And I think, I can't tell you now, but there's probably over millions and millions of users using Skype right this second. And that's just probably not possible if you try some client-server model. So I don't know. It's a tough problem for them. So I think short term, just get it up and get it running in the background. Address the user concerns. They don't really need to know. You don't need to air your dirty laundry with them. But
maybe they just justify the battery thing.
And I think this is the reason why.
Yeah.
I was going to say this is the reason why I think Skype, we're not seeing it just because Microsoft bought them. It's not all of a sudden stamped MS and pushed everywhere. Everybody wants it like on Xbox stuff. I think Microsoft bought this and they opened up their box and unpacked it and okay, there's a giant mess on the floor. How do we sort this? What are we planning? And so they actually are planning these stages, but they can't just, install this on an Xbox and be like, there you go. There is some background changes and front ground changes. They got to do a lot of manipulation, but they have to be careful with what they're doing here. Because like I said, 600 million registered users is it's a hell of a base. You don't want to.
And that's across all kinds. That's a wide diversity of clients too. You have the Facebook client, you have the PC client, which is a piece of crap. Windows Mobile, Windows Phone client. Jeez, you have Xbox. I don't know. There may be more. I mean, you have iOS and BlackBerry and all that stuff. So
the PlayStation Vita just got a client this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. And it runs in the background. Of course, that has a quad-core processor and costs $300.
So maybe they won't fix it. Maybe they'll just depend on the improving hardware coming out.
I think I agree with you. I think there needs to be something addressed at a mobile level. It's not necessarily a case of they will not necessarily improve it. I think what we'll get instead is perhaps a VoIP background task or a VoIP port, which will have some clever way of listening and establishing exactly when it's allowed to consume precious battery power. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, as a side note, I'm just going to say Tango for me actually works pretty darn well. Their video quality for streaming is actually, I think, a little bit better than Skype's. So consider Tango if you haven't already. It works really well. And Nokia, HTC, and Samsung have all customized it and tweaked it a little bit for their own hardware. So something definitely to consider.
So they're very much behind it as well. I'm going to move us on because we're running quite a little bit short on time. So we want to briefly talk about SkyDrive, and there's actually not an awful lot for us to talk about here. We've got a new app that really doesn't come in this section, but also the fact that SkyDrive itself has seen a bit of an overhaul this week in general. For those of you who use SkyDrive, say again.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say a lot of good press. Microsoft made a brilliant chess move here this week. They released all this like a day or two before Google unveiled their Drive system, which was rumored for a long time. It's basically an analogous system to that in Dropbox. In fact, the big controversy now is that Google basically ripped off Dropbox's terms of service, including the part where they own whatever it is you upload, which has caused quite a stir in the privacy rights groups. But what sucks about Google Drive is if you try to log into your Gmail account and go to your Drive, it'll say it's not ready yet for your system. I mean, this is Google, right? I mean, they hey, here we are, it's here, and then you go to use it, and it's oh, sorry, you have to either again invite or beta, or you'll get it in 6 to 8 weeks. But meanwhile, Microsoft took the wraps off of SkyDrive, the overhauled version. They knocked down users to 7 gigs, which sounds terrible until you realize they said like overwhelmingly people don't use that much. Sure enough, I was
of course,
using
if you've already used it before, if you use it for your Windows Phone, you are entitled to that 25 gig.
Right. So, I mean, I was only using a couple hundred megs myself, so I'm in one of that category. Now I'm going to use it more. But, right, there was this, if you logged into your account, there was a banner, you just clicked it, boom, you got 25 gigs back, which is pretty amazing considering Dropbox and Drive now. Well, Dropbox is 2 gigs and Google's Drive is 5 gigs. So, at the very minimum, you'll get 7 on SkyDrive. And if you're already had it before, you get 25 for free. And if you want more, you can just pay, was it $10, $20? I mean, their pricing scheme blows everybody else out of the water. The amount of storage they give you is blown out of the water. It's cross-platform. They came out the gates going, it works on Mac OS too. It works on
iOS.
Yeah, and iOS. I don't know. They did
talking
really
cross-platform. Have you guys installed it on the PC?
Yes, it's good. It's good.
It's not quite as fast at uploading as Dropbox, as I have noticed that. SkyDrive does take a little bit of time to upload.
I haven't noticed that. I haven't actually done any comparison. That's interesting to know.
I transferred about 1.8 gig of stuff straight into it to see how it would do. That's just what I do. I get something new and I think, let's try and kill it. In this case, I did. It's still uploading. Actually, I had to turn it off for the podcast. It's a little bit slow in the background uploading. That'll improve in time. Dropbox has been around for ages, but it does work as we hoped it would. It uses the sort of just quietly uploading in the background, keeping everything up to sync. I'm really excited about the fact that I've now got 25 gig of stuff just up there, and I can shut my pictures up there as well. It used to be that I published a SkyDrive through the Windows Phone through the Windows Photo Gallery, and looks things I won't have to worry about that anymore. I can just start dragging and dropping, which I'm a big fan of. We'll probably get my parents on it as well because it's a great way of backing up photos. Rafael, are you using it?
I'm not using it currently. However, Paul and I are writing that Windows 8 book, right? So we're currently using Live Mesh for that. And now that SkyDrive's app is out, it's like, oh, hell, it's integrated in Explorer. Let's start using that. So I think we're going to make a switch to that, give it a try. I just wanted to point out, though, it's interesting that their storage options blow everyone out of the water. And I think one of the reasons that, or one of the enablers for that was Windows Server 8's data dedupe feature. So could you imagine taking everybody's SkyDrive accounts, combining them together, and then taking the bits that are duplicated and just, bucket them?
That's how it should work.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I got a bit happy in my nerd mind then.
Yeah, I know they're not using it right now, but maybe they're planning to get people on this data dedupe stuff immediately, and then they can make these options even more enticing.
So one of my friends from the chat room, Will's B3, points out that Dropbox does currently do that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
But it's not as good as Microsoft's.
I'd also say another cool thing I'm really excited to see, and I'm starting to use SkyDrive more for, is the fact that app developers now have the APIs for writing in Windows Phone apps to access this. I'm going to talk about an app this week, which I forgot the name of it because it's kind of sort of a generic name. It's called Remember Reel. It's a free app, and if you want to go check it in Marketplace right now, it's really cool. Remember Reel is, I watch a ton of movies. I was a projectionist for 17 years. I watch 6 movies a week practically. Remember Reel is a great app that you can, if you're watching a movie, you can just launch it, you type in the name of the movie, and it accesses a database. I think it's Rotten Tomatoes, and so it just brings it up, and then you click it and you add it. And what it does is it allows you to basically save and take notes on any movies you've seen. And I watch a lot of obscure movies that when I go tell a friend, I'm like, I watched this movie the other night and I forgot the name because it's so generic or it's foreign, I just don't remember the actual title. So now I can actually bring it up and it sorts by the dates you watched. But what's really cool about this is it has a SkyDrive backup. It's a version 1 app, and you already put in the SkyDrive backup into it. So you can back up your entire database right to SkyDrive. Now, and that's important for me. I have so many new devices that I hate the idea of having my phone and I get a new phone and I'm like, oh, great, just my database is over there. Now I can log into the new one, log into SkyDrive, and it'll just pull down the database. Yeah. And you're seeing this a lot more now. The ROM apps, the emulator apps I've always talked about with the games all use SkyDrive now for your ROMs. And so you're seeing a lot more app developers use this as a method for saving files and backups, and it's really brilliant. Now, what we really want, of course, is, and I know Rafael wants this, is the Xbox Live backup so you can save your games.
It's essential. We really need one now. They've rolled out to Xbox. I just want to make a point, by the way, that as good as that app sounds, it didn't help you with remembering what the app was called. So you need another app for that.
Remember
what it was called.
Well, it's actually a pretty logical name now I think about it. But yeah, it's pretty bad with that stuff. But so we already have that on Xbox 360. Hopefully, it'll come to a Windows Phone. But that's probably why they're going to have someone point out in the chat room that we have so much storage space on SkyDrive because of the Xbox backups and stuff. So.
To be honest, if Windows Phone 8 doesn't have an Xbox Live backup capability situation on it, then it will be a huge kick in the face. It's something that they need to do next. They've got it right.
That's where my backup app comes into hand.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you have anything to add to that
already?
Yes, I have to add that I haven't worked on it. I've been busy. Sorry.
I thought the funniest tweet you had the other night was like, "This will give me a motivation to work on my backup app. Then I can start working on a restore app."
I have the Lumia device now, and it's like I don't want to use the Samsung Focus, but all my game saves are there, like the Doodle God stuff, etc.
Yeah.
So I really need to get on that.
Yeah, I've lost it all. My nice tentacle save is all gone. It's
all gone.
All gone. And the next item on the list was going to be talking about the Windows Phone 8 update stuff, but to be honest with you, I'm fed up of talking about it. I feel like we've just given the same advice over and over again. And because we're running a little bit short on time, I'm going to skip over that one. If you want to hear about Windows Phone 8 updates, listen to any of the other podcasts that we've ever done, because it feels like we talk about it every week. So there you go. Let's talk about some apps this week. First of all, I want to talk about Wordament, because, of course, that's come out on Xbox Live today. Do you guys play Wordament?
So yeah, I used to play a lot of it, then I stopped, now I'm starting to play it again, and then I remembered why sometimes I don't play it, because it takes a while to get good at it,
awesome.
You know. Oh, it is.
I'm
is
rubbish.
Awesome,
I'm absolutely rubbish. I find more three-letter words than anything else ever. Anything.
Well, that's just it. You don't win with the three-letter words.
And they're almost always left to right. Right. Oh yeah, look, it says "and" on the screen. I've found it, but otherwise, I'm a bit rubbish.
COT, yay.
Or whatever it is backwards as well.
Yeah,
but it is fantastic and it's really good
great.
app, and
it's
I'm
a
so
free
glad
game.
It's got Xbox Live.
It's very creative. It's exclusive to Windows Phone. It uses the Metro and Live tiles thing.
And of course,
I think this is a great game
game
for a lot of Windows Phone users, and I like the changes they made with the live version. You know, it looks cooler. I still kind of wish there were no ads. I'm a stickler. I hate ads. I really do. And I don't mind developers having the option with ads. I actually respect that. But I also like the option go like, here's my 99 cents, take away the ads. And I kind of wish Wordament had that feature, but you know, so be it. Rafael, do you play it at all?
No, I just installed it today, and it's another word game. Great.
Yeah, so, I guess you're not impressed.
No, but it's free, so I'll definitely play it.
He's difficult to please, isn't he?
I know.
Really?
There's nothing like that Sally Salon.
Do you know what the best thing is? I have to tell you this actually.
I think I beat that game.
So I got my sister a Lumia 710 as I've tweeted out a couple of times, and just happened to casually say to her, "Oh yeah, have you tried out this game, Sally's Salon?" And she was just like, "Oh my god, this is the first Windows Phone game that I've been incredibly addicted to," and she really wants to buy it, but she can't quite bring herself to pay the money. She's basically making me tell her when it's next on sale. Yeah. So that proves that game is amazing. Yeah, Sally's Salon luxury.
$2.99 that game?
It's but you know, she's a student and she doesn't make any money, so it does make a difference to her.
I might throw out saying Ice Stunt 2 is still one of that and Mini Squadron are two of my favorite games. Ice Stunt 2 is pretty amazing, but it starts running to the hardware limitations. And my Titan 2, it actually starts to stutter sometimes when you get these really giant loops that you go through. You'll actually kind of get some stutters to it, but it's still a ridiculously fun game. In fact, you can buy your characters in there, or you can earn them through coins, or you can just give them your money and be lame about it, which I do. And I bought the top character, which is death. So like he snowboards around with the scythe and everything. But what's kind of cool about him is he can't die, which makes sense. But it means that like you could do stupid tricks and hit walls and everything, and you just don't die. So you kind of like cheat through the game. Although you still can get stuck in things, which is kind of funny. But yeah,
That's awesome.
It sounds like you've put a lot of time into this game.
I have. It's so good. It's just like, I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. It reminds me of just like Excite Bike and stuff where you can just do these crazy tricks. But
it's like that. There was a game used to be called Elastomania, which I absolutely loved on my PC. If you ever played it, it was just brilliant. Facebook app as well. We should talk about that because there's a big update coming up in version 2.5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the features. The Facebook guys have been listening. I say the Facebook guys. We should be clear. This is developed by a party that isn't Facebook. It's done by a consulting firm. But they're bringing in things in 2.5 such as threaded messaging, so full Facebook threaded messaging, including group messaging, all of course with a Metro design, tagging your friends in locations and posts using things like with this person, and deleting posts and comments. And perhaps most importantly, we can now like things, like comments from the Windows Phone app, which seems like a really glaring omission, but hey, it's coming in, and arguably you could like comments from your Windows Phone as it is at the moment. So it just proves that it's doing well. The only thing which I think the Facebook app still needs to improve is they just need to sort out the initial onload. It's still a little bit stuttery when all the images are loading in, and that needs to be threaded up properly, or they need to use a better control around that. That's not the Facebook guy's fault. That's just how the SDK is at the moment. But it needs
Jay Bennett hired at Facebook.
Right.
Don't joke. I might start shopping. Anybody want to hire a developer? Yeah, but it does look awesome, and I'm still for what everyone says. I absolutely love the Facebook app on Windows Phone. I still think it's one of the best mobile Facebook apps that is out there. I don't know any iPhone or Android users who load up their Facebook app and say, yes, this is incredible. I know an awful lot of them who go back to the mobile site.
No, and it's a really good point. I mean, it's a crappy metric. It's like sort of like I got a B in my test. Well, everybody else got C's, but you still didn't get the A. And it's like that with Facebook, right? It's sort of like we do have in a lot of ways the best mobile client, although it still kind of sucks. But when you look at it compared to iOS and Android, it's way better than those. And I heard the Android client's pretty terrible.
It's horrible.
So this is partly, once again, like we're talking about Skype and their background, their architecture, the way it's set up. Facebook has the same problems with their ridiculous APIs and how everything's always changing. And so there's similar situations, I think, between the two. But, it's improving. It's getting better. And it's nice that the devs are sort of listening and bring these features. It's a little bit slow. We are 2 years into this, and, we're finally getting ability to like comments, but better late than never. It's nice that at least the company is responding. It seems like it'll be a solid update. So.
But it seems pretty clear to me that they've actually started really taking this Facebook app seriously now, because we've seen a lot of updates quite close together quite recently, haven't we?
Someone mentions here in the chat room, Kagenius, but it means better live tile and faster toast notifications. This, I believe, is Facebook's end. This doesn't work well on any platform. It's not necessarily a Windows Phone thing. Windows Phone toast notifications and live tile work perfectly if your push server is getting the information. The problem is the server not getting the info. I mean, I've had the system where Facebook is supposed to email me when I get an update or something. It's hit and miss.
Doesn't always work.
And that has nothing to do with Microsoft and their tile system, right? That's just a straight-up email I don't get. So if that's not working, how much do you really expect your live tiles and push notifications to work? So I don't believe that's them. I believe that's still Facebook, and you'll find the same complaint on every other system. As far as the scrolling, that's true. Jay, you could talk a little bit about that. I also want to throw out this little nugget before this. Josh Topolsky on The Verge criticized a lot Windows Phone 7 and app scrolling, especially third-party apps. And I've heard through the grapevine now that Microsoft actually took notice with that and have now refocused a lot of their Windows Phone 8 optimizations on making sure scrolling is actually top-notch. So for all of those who have slammed Josh on his review, it looks like it actually maybe getting results with Microsoft, who up to now weren't that concerned with scrolling performance on Windows Phone. So take that for what you will.
And of course, if you don't like seeing your Facebook news in that way, there are other options, of course. And one of the apps that we can talk about is this one. don't know how well that came through. I don't I was gonna say I don't dare say anything, play any more of the Star Wars theme tune in case we get sued.
Right. Jay's paying the royalties.
Yeah.
But of course, the Kinect Star Wars app came out, and did anyone else just smile insanely when they first used that app?
It's totally stupid, but it is funny.
I immediately ran into my flatmate's room and was just like, oh my God, look how cool this is. I can see my Twitter and Facebook stuff as if I was watching it scroll through space. This is all I ever wanted from life, and I didn't even realize it until now.
Do you actually use it?
No, of course I don't.
Okay.
It's not even slightly useful. The only thing that's good for it is to sit there and go, my friend's checked in it somewhere and I can see it in space. That's the only point. But it's amazing, and I fully say that everybody should download the Kinect Star Wars app, load in your Facebook and Twitter stuff, and just hold it sideways and laugh to yourself in a manic tone like I did, because it's the best app on Windows Phone, full stop.
Okay, fair enough.
I was waiting to do that one. I've been looking forward to that. The last stuff I want to talk about, because we are starting to run a bit short of time, it's a UK-only app, and it's called Pepper. Now, I met the CTO, David Hamilton, this week at the Windows Phone user group, and I wanted to give a little shout-out to this app. If you're in the UK, go and download Pepper. It's basically a fantastic social network for live music, is how he's envisaging it, and it's going to be coming along to the iOS and Android platforms as well quite soon. The idea being that a lot of companies have tried and played at the whole social network for live music idea. It hasn't really worked. It hasn't really ever happened because people don't pay enough attention. These guys have quit their job and are basically running full pelt with Pepper now. They're getting involved with a lot of different venue owners and trying to get them all signed up and dealt with, and they've done really well. And what they've made is this app called Pepper. You can log yourself in. It'll learn the kind of music that you like. It'll suggest gigs that are nearby you. That's all quite standard stuff, but it's just incredibly well done. It's designed to be able to speak to your friends, people that you actually know, people that you've met. There's just really clever ideas like pinning your favorite venues, pinning your favorite artists, and seeing what sort of stuff they're up to in the coming future. I really love this app concept. It was one of the best apps I've seen at the Windows Phone user group, and I would love it if everybody from the UK give a little try of Pepper and see what you think of it. That's my little sales pitch for David, because he's a really nice guy.
And it's coming. He says he's going to bring US support soon too.
Yeah.
So,
he doesn't want people to be able to just add events, because then the data becomes unreliable. He wants to get the US people involved so that they can contribute in the events for their own venues.
Gotcha.
Which is a really cool idea, and he's right, because otherwise you end up with stupid events that don't even really exist.
Right.
So yeah, it's just one that's fully worth going for. Have you guys got any apps you want to talk about this week, just before we head towards the community section?
I already talked about Remember Reel, so go try that. And I'll have to write up a little post on it. There's probably more, but yeah, I always forget these things at the top of my head.
That's all right. Well, if it doesn't matter, because we've got a lot of comments. After last week when I had a bit of a cry about the fact we didn't have any comments, we got about 22 this time around. So thank you, community. You guys are awesome. The first comment that we got from last week was from Peace 11 Hulk, just saying first a comment. Thank you very much. We also got one from Jejalust saying hi, which of course is what I asked people to do. So because he said just saying hi, I'm reading that one out. Daniel, you replied to one. No, I said I'd read out these comments if someone just said hi, and there you go. Daniel, you replied to one from Lost, just talking about the 900 lag stuttering. You were saying that you hadn't really seen stuttering as such. What Lost was saying was that it's more about, or Los was saying it's more about when you drag your finger. You showed off in the 900 review about how it was sort of lagging behind and wasn't quite keeping up with the touch that you're putting in. Have you found that on the Lumia 900 white version?
I'm using the phone every day. Nothing's going off in my head that says something's wrong here with the touch, reception. And I don't know, say, performance difference here with that. It's nothing that's going off in my head as a problem. I think others have noticed this or do have issues with it. Rafael, have you noticed anything with scrolling and slowing down or having any issues in that regard?
I'm testing it now on the Samsung versus the Lumia, and it does seem to be a little slower. But it doesn't bug me. I've never noticed it.
Yeah.
And I suggest that if people are getting this in apps, you need to test it against a whole wide spectrum of apps, because that could just be the app handling the input thread or whatever incorrectly.
Yeah.
But it does look a little slower, but I don't know. I'll play with it and let you guys know.
I'm pretty sure this is something that they can control, which is the acceleration of movement on the OS. And I know there are some differences. Like, yeah, Samsung Focus seems to be really fast, just like how I pointed out on the Samsung, the Lumia 710, and the 900 is like this too. Screen rotation is very quick. That looks to be something that they can control and alter those values too. And so you'll find like the 710 and 900 rotate really quickly to landscape. Faster than like the Focus S. So I don't know. There's definitely these subtle differences. I wouldn't say it makes or breaks a device or something I noticed or complained about, but for some people, they do. So.
A lot of people, our comments are sort of along with you. People have said that they noticed it in the review when you pointed it out quite clearly, but they haven't noticed it in their day-to-day use. I can't even pronounce this. Aka Man on the Moon pronounced the same thing. He said he hasn't had any issues that have come up. The Illumia Nati, clever, said that he only saw it in the review but hasn't noticed it on his own device, and all working quite nicely. What else have we got from the comments? God, there's too many now. DRG says he agrees with me. Nokia Drive and Nokia Maps are the way forward rather than necessarily getting the cool camera on the Titan 2. This was, of course...
but we should point out that Titan 2 does have HTC, their app, which does have mapping and driving directions now. That's also free. So
It does. It doesn't have the free music app just yet, or the Creative Studio. But then again, they don't use Creative Studio.
We don't have but we don't have the music app here in the US either. So.
Oh yes, that's a good point. And he also says that he's now become addicted to Trine's Hangman. So thank you to George for the recommendation. I still need to try that game out. I need to do that. Eli Zor is basically cursing us because he doesn't know which one to buy. Sorry about that. We gave you the best information we could. People were asking about the earbuds. Are you still wearing those earbuds this week?
No, they're in my car, so I'm using my cheap ones. I got to get a review up of the Purity
the Monster
headphones.
Purity ones. I'd be curious to hear about that, actually, especially the earbuds, because I've tried out a sample of the headphones at a Nokia Lumia event, and then someone quickly came over and told me they haven't got real speaker drivers in them. These are just generic ones that we put the frame round. So don't judge it.
But quick review, if I had to give one, they're really nice. I'm not sure it's worth $106. I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. Yeah, it's. I didn't pay $106, so they're nice. But there you go.
What else have we got? We've got Mythos 13 talking about the lag as well. WinFan1 saying that he went for the Nokia Lumia 900. It seems to be a big case, actually. People have gone for the Lumia 900 unless they really care about the specs and the camera, in which case they've gone for the Titan 2, which is what we thought would happen. Mr. Razak has written something short of an essay on our comments. Ultimately, he says that he's going to be waiting for Windows Phone 8 because he feels that that's probably the safest bet right now. And effectively, he just gets the feeling that he'll see some incredible devices hopefully around then. And that 4.3 inches is the right screen size. I'm going to skip over a couple of comments. Apologies for people that are posting them, and we do really appreciate it. Evo FX Studio has tried to explain about what Windows Phone Tango is for, and he's kind of got it wrong. He seems to think that Windows Phone Tango is only for the 256 megabyte devices. That's not the case. The update will be rolled out in some form to all the devices. It's just that Tango is the version which will be will support these low-end devices. And of course, he seems to think that Windows Phone Apollo is for the upgraded versions of the HTC Titan and all the Nokias. We're not going to talk about that. And he also thinks that Windows Phone 8 is not Apollo, but is the Windows 8 OS, and we don't know that for sure yet either. So there's an awful lot of...
Let me address that. Windows Phone 8 is Apollo. The end. Yeah. I can tell you that as a fact. Now, I think there is some confusion regarding Tango. So there's like a fork in the road, and there's these two streams of Windows Phone OS now. There's the low-end device OSs like Tango, and then there's the more consumery normal stuff like Noto, Mango, Palo. I can't say too much about any of that future stuff, but it's not correct to supersede Tango with Apollo, because these are like two different SKUs per se, or two different. I don't know how to explain it, and I can't really comment on the future stuff, but That's where I'm going to leave it. Sorry.
Ultimately, we can say that the Tango is a fork, but Apollo is definitely Windows Phone 8.
Yes, Windows Phone Apollo is just a code name for Windows Phone 8 or whatever they decide to call it. I don't know if they've really nailed down a name for it yet. So
no, it would be interesting to see if actually they do change the naming, considering how that had worked.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, and Wheeler in our chat room points out it's not called Tango, it's called 7.5 Refresh. Yeah, very good point.
Sorry.
It's actually, well, we're gonna get technical like that. It's actually Consumer Refresh 3. So. Well, it is.
Which rolls off the tongue. It's just so catchy.
8112 is Consumer Refresh 2. 8107 is Consumer Refresh. Is 7.5 Consumer Refresh. So it's technically not true. Just pointing that out.
It's easier to say Tango.
Right.
So chat room, if you've got any questions for us, send them on in. Easy peasy JD is just wanted to let us know that the NBA game Time Light has been updated and now supports the NBA League Pass. I don't watch basketball, but thank you for letting us know. Deshane Smith is asking us, how secure is Nokia as a company? We know we're not corporate analysts. That's correct. If we were, we'd probably be making more money. But there hasn't been much good news lately. Deshane, we spoke about this a little bit earlier in the podcast, so I'll let you wind back if you get a chance to listen to the podcast when we put it out there. I don't think we'll retread that ground. We think the Nokia will be safe, and we think primarily, as Daniel pointed out, because Microsoft is behind them and they've got bags of cash.
It's true. MG Van S brings up the purple tint issue, whether or not it's being fixed through software update. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning of the podcast, and so it should be fixable through a software update. That seems to be an AMOLED issue, so I'm not too concerned about it, but I don't think it's a hardware thing. But we'll try to get more info on that.
Mm-hmm. I hope so.
Tony FL is asking, what's the website where people can submit their info for app developers to look for testers? Tony FL, use our forums, man. We have a forum especially for that. So head on to the WP Central forums, and you can ask for beta testers there. What else have we got? Anyone else got any good questions?
So Kaiser's asking if deeper Skype integration is an Apollo thing. So I think a couple months ago, we reported on a leak from Pocket Now. I hope I got that right. That Skype integration was definitely coming in Apollo. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it looked legit. So
yeah,
and it makes sense.
Yeah, nice. I mean I think it's fair speculation. So
what else have we got? Phil R8 has said, based on accounts in the Lumia 900 forums, it really seems like the QA/QC quality control for the Lumia 900 is all over the map. What do you guys think about this, if anything? I assume that means quality control.
Yeah, no, I've heard this too. Some people have had 3 phones they've returned. I've harped on the vibration issue. I said the review unit I have, which I still need to send back, has a terrible vibrate. You can go see it in the video. I compare it to the 800. The white one is better, but it still pops when it starts. I can live with it, but still annoying. So there are these variations. Rafael, I don't know if yours has a weird vibrate issue. Some people are like, stop being so critical. But,
Yeah, I called Jen and I was trying to reproduce. I'm not exactly sure how to reproduce. Do I just use the speakerphone or?
Oh, for the vibrate?
Yeah, so I did notice when I was talking to her, the thing makes a little vibrate, like it received a notification or something in the background.
Yeah.
Is that what they're talking about, or?
Well,
they're talking about the vibrate motion itself.
Install the diagnostic app, which is I
got it installed.
Yeah, so you go to that and it's Vibra. It's the last option at the bottom, and you just hit it, and it'll just vibrate the phone.
Okay, and then what should happen?
Well, so it depends. How does it sound?
According to Daniel, it sounds a bit odd, kind of like a razor. I think is how I decided.
The original matte black Lumia, it sounded like an electric razor, basically. It sounded like there's metal vibrating in it. Now my white one, when it starts, it pops and then sounds fine. But my Lumia 800 sounds perfect. It's just a very soft, mellow, but solid vibrate. So.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It sounds like maybe it's like hitting a piece inside.
Yeah, right.
This doesn't bother me at all, though.
Yeah. For some people, I mean, for me, it does. Only because I've reviewed so many of these devices. I have like 13 of them, so I know how they vibrate. And this one vibrates differently. It's loud. It's kind of annoying. I think I expect a little bit better from Nokia. That's the only reason I'm critical. So.
I think this goes, metal is not designed to vibrate.
Right, possibly. All I know is the 710, 800 don't have this issue, 900 does. So getting back to the original quality control thing, yeah, I've heard some people say this. I think Nokia's in a tough situation. They've got their outsourcing now, their production. They've moved it from Finland to outside of Europe to Vietnam, and I think Mexico and Korea and stuff. So you get these factories spread out, and yeah, they're going to have some issues. That's problem with driving down the market, lowering costs, right? So it's still better than I think some of the HTC stuff, but I think Nokia has some humps to overcome. HTC took years to master Windows Phone, Windows Mobile, and now they're good. They can just kind of snap their fingers. I say their new devices are really good. I gotta give Nokia a little breathing room here to sort of get their
figure it out.
Yeah, get their mojo. Yeah. So, but
I'm going to take. Also, I'm going to pick up two more questions, then we're going to have to cut off. Martin Rumelein, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong there, asked, when does the Facebook app get updated? He hasn't received the update yet. Sorry for his bad English. He's German. We haven't got the update just yet, 2.5. I don't know if I think we're expecting it in the next couple of weeks, are we?
Yeah, they said they're wrapping up and it's going into internal testing, so it sounds like it's pretty much ready.
Should be soon. Yeah, Martin, keep an eye on the site and or the app, whichever you prefer, for your Windows Phone Central news. And of course, as soon as we find out about it, we'll put a post up and you'll be able to download the app there. Easy Peasy JD has asked one quick question, which I want to just pick up on, but I don't want us to necessarily answer yet because I think it's something we need to investigate ourselves. Whatever happened to the whole fast async service?
Right.
It would have been a great thing with Wordament.
Yeah, so what he's talking about here is the ability to basically play other people online and use Xbox to sync back and forth. Sort of like there's like no notifications for game turns and stuff, sort of how like Alpha Jacks can alert you that it's your move. This, along with other advanced Xbox functionality, was shown off a while ago. Now, we are expecting with Sonic the ability to play Sonic on your phone, pause it, and then play it on your Xbox, and it'll sync up. So that may be the first instance. That was demonstrated. There was someone from Microsoft who said that works, it's coming, and that's coming in June, apparently. So that may be your first instance of it, but we still don't have more advanced things like the ability to use your phone with a Kinect or Xbox game, which is lame because I was showed off in February 2011 in Barcelona. I was there. They actually demonstrated that. All of a sudden now it's like, where'd that go? They always kind of smile, Microsoft, when you ask about that, and they're not, telling us.
We'll ask Microsoft again the next time we see them. Like that.
I mean, my bet is Windows Phone 8, right? It seems like everything's
Windows Phone 8.
Everything's getting shoved into Windows Phone 8, so hopefully it'll.
Whenever that great prodigal child comes.
Now, I think it's important to note, though, that this fast async stuff's not limited to Windows Phone. It's part of the Xbox Live service.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just working on aligning the PC and Xbox releases with whatever the phone's coming out with, or one of them is probably dragging behind.
Right. Yeah, that's true too. So, but look for Sonic, which I'm actually excited about. I started playing Sonic on Xbox, the episode 1. It's actually a lot of fun. In Sonic episode 2 is even better. They fixed a lot of the physics and some of the controls better. So it's supposed to be a pretty nice update. We'll get that with the Windows Phone, and supposedly you can sync between the two. Should be kind of a cool experience. So.
We are out of time, so who wants to wrap it up?
Not me.
It'll be Jay.
It'll be me then. Thanks, Rafael. I should have called Shotgun Night, shouldn't I? You can find us all on Twitter at WPCentral. You can find Dan at Malatester77. You can find George, our reviews editor, at Coppertop004. You can find Rich at Rich Edmonds, and you can find myself at JAYT Bennett. You can find Paul, our games editor, at SegaCon, and you can find Raphael, who will just give you lots of insights into interesting Skype backgrounds, at Within Raphael, and of course at Rogue Code as well for Matt, and at Big_D5 for Dave, our forums moderator. This has been a Mobile Nations podcast. Please go to mobilenations.com for more great shows covering everything mobile, or head over to our WP Central forums if you'd like to get involved with our community and discussing more about Windows Phone news, devices, and apps. Thanks, of course, to WP Central Store for sponsoring the podcast, and thanks to the artists at ccmixer.org who give us a great database of Creative Commons music. You can, as always, find out lots more information about that at the bottom of this podcast's post. Dan, on to you.
And that's it, folks. We'll have the podcast up on the site sometime tomorrow, and we'll be back hopefully in 2 weeks or so. Take care, everybody.